everyone. This is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the She and Success podcast, powered by She and Success Business Magazine, a platform dedicated to spotlighting the voices, strategies, and journeys of women leaders and entrepreneurs who are shaping Canada's business and policy landscape. Today, we are exploring the deep science of high performance leadership and the human capacity to recalibrate under extreme pressure. In 2026, the greatest constraint in a business often isn't the market or the tech, it's the nervous system of the leader at the top. Joining us today is Dr. Japji Anna Bas, a nervous system strategist and founder of Flourish Energy. With a PhD in well-being environments and a background advising the United Nations, Dr. Japji helps system shaping leaders break through the ceilings they can't think their way through. Having navigated a personal battle with cancer as a single parent and business owner, she brings a profound lived perspective to thriving under pressure. So, before further ado, let's welcome this very special guest. Dr. Japji, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, Dr. Japji, you've navigated cancer treatment while managing your business and being a single parent, right? A situation that would force most to a breaking point. Firstly, kudos to, everything that you've gone through and still standing so strong. I'd love for you to start the conversation by, letting our listeners know about what did your experience teach you about resilience and the limits of, hyper independence. Go ahead.
That's a great question. Thank you so much. What a lovely starting point. As you noted in your question, I'm a business owner. I'm a single parent. I completed a PhD as a single parent, and I'm very practiced at hyper independence. My cancer journey really showed me something that I knew intellectually, but how to understand it personally, which was that hyper independence really is a strategy that works until it doesn't, right?
Right.
It only can get you so far. We are a social species who are social beings, and interdependence is ultimately necessary. In my cancer journey, I learned the necessity to understand where those points of reciprocity are as a leader, and the importance of setting up the structures that we would need prior to the crisis. I had never had a situation that had pulled me back in this kind of a way.
Yeah.
And, I was fortunate in having contributed so much to my colleagues' work and to my community
Right.
that people were able to show up for me.
Right.
And it taught me something about, even as an independent business owner, working and networking in ways that are more reciprocal.
Oh, definitely. I think realizing that true resilience, comes from community reciprocity rather than, isolated strength is a life-changing shift for any hyper-independent founder. So once again, thank you so much, for sharing that story with us. And we're super proud of you. Now, moving ahead in the conversation, let's explore why recalibration, matters more than pushing through. So I'd love for you to take this opportunity and educate our listeners about what is the difference between pushing through and truly recalibrating under pressure. What does it mean?
Recalibration is really important because resilience has gotten very popularized and is actually misunderstood in how it's used. When people are talking about resilience and they say, oh, I'm tired of being resilient, they're talking about pushing through. They're talking about pushing beyond the limits and really, really getting to the point where we are overextended.
Right.
Resilience, by contrast, is being able to return to baseline, return to a grounded state and push forward. If we think like interval training, right? Interval training is way more effective than long, steady pushes at training our physical system. And the same thing works with our nervous system. So we recalibrate when we're able to tune in and push forward. And that allows us ultimately to grow and progress further forward, which can feel quite tricky because those moments of pause, especially for those of us who tend towards hyper independence, which is quite common with business leaders, can be a little bit difficult to access.
Definitely. And I think building on what you said, when a leader chooses to recalibrate, they somehow also stop being the bottleneck and, start allowing their teams and systems to breathe and function independently, as you said. Amazing. Now, moving ahead, I'd love to touch upon the SCA method for sustainable performance. So, from a layman's perspective, first, please go ahead and explain what is this methodology and how exactly does it help leaders stop being the bottlenecks in their businesses? So go ahead.
So, when I work with leaders, I use an integrated approach: somatic, cognitive, and behavioral. It works because it actually works on all levels and it brings us into integration.
Mm-hmm.
Much of the leadership's advice that we see is really, really focused on mindset, strategy, these sort of cognitive approaches. And the reality is that by the time somebody is running a successful business, they probably have most of that down, right? And on the other hand, we do see a rise of somatic approaches. And
Mm-hmm.
very often the somatic approaches say, oh, you don't need to worry about your mindset at all. You don't need to worry about your thoughts. You just drop into the body and everything will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
The approach that I use integrates these things. It recognizes we need to tune in and then use some cognitive hygiene and reinforce that with behavioral actions, with actions that reinforce the lessons that we've understood. So we drop in cognitive hygiene action, and it actually creates a pattern and a rhythm in
Mm-hmm.
our ways of being, somatic, cognitive action, that easily sustains itself even under pressure. So, this allows the leader to be wholly more effective and creates a situation where their direct reports start to mirror those behaviors. So, it kind of ripples out through organizations.
Wow. Firstly, I love how therapeutic this answer was because, it's these things, it's good to talk about, but the real application in your actual life is, the main thing that I'd encourage all the listeners to, apply in their own lives as well. And also building on what you said, here's a special message for all of our listeners, specifically to all the founders and mission driven leaders watching. In 2026, your business cannot outgrow your nervous system. If you feel like the ceiling you've hit is the one you can't think your way through, it's time to stop the strain. Dr. Japji is receiving the Resilience and Impact Motherhood Award on May 9th. So, a huge congratulations for that because she has lived the science that she teaches. Her N1 outlier calibration is designed for leaders driving real impact who are tired of being the bottleneck. So don't wait for a health crisis to force a restructure. Visit flourishenergy.ca today and learn how to architect your future without burning out your team or yourself. Recalibrate now so you can lead with impact. Coming back to you, Dr. Japji, a huge congratulations for the awards. How do you feel about it?
Thank you so much. I'm very, very excited, delighted to be going with my children, some very close friends, and
Uh-huh.
to have the opportunity to celebrate the fact that, I like to joke that song, like, I'm still standing. So,
No, definitely. It is well deserved. And, feel free to share the images with us, and I'd be more than happy to share it with our listeners as well after the award. Now, let's explore preparing for an unexpected personal and business challenges because life is unfair and life is unexpected as well. So for all the listeners, how do you suggest they prepare their businesses for unexpected personal or health crisis? Because this is something that none of us think about actively, but there's a need to. So what do you suggest?
this ties in really closely to the earlier questions
Mm.
around hyper independence. And a lot of this is around building resilience in your team. So, as a leader, making sure that you set up processes that are clear,
Mm-hmm.
that you hand things to your directors or your other senior leaders when that becomes available,
Mm-hmm.
and that you actually sequence things so that there are actual moments where you're moving to hands off, right? That gives you space for strategy, but it actually builds strength in your team so that the team is actually functioning almost organically, right? You're going to have your
Mhm.
systems, which are very structured,
Right.
and also you're prepared for these moments because the team is so cohesive and the processes are really clear. We always want to intertwine these pieces, right, around the
Right.
more organic and structural pieces.
So definitely, I think systems never fail, right? And building a structure, as you said, and a cohesive community of support is the ultimate insurance policy for any mission driven enterprise out there. Great. Now, moving ahead, let's look at leading with somatic intelligence and awareness. So, from your extensive journey, how do you think your leadership approach evolved through your personal journey? Did it, have a direct impact or, an indirect psychological impact that, later you saw or reflection in your work? Tell us that.
Yeah. So it really actually helped me to thread together some of the components of my work. Prior to my cancer journey, I was working individually with leaders, one on one, using a somatic cognitive behavioral approach, but
Mhm.
really for them as an individual, and then also doing strategic work with organizations, assessing the organization, handling these two pieces a little bit separately. But what I've noticed over the course of actually both my PhD work and the first 5 years of my business is if you have a really attuned leader and an organization that's in shambles, it's still going to be very difficult to get things going. If you create great systems in an organization and the leader is in an internal state of chaos, it's not going to flow through.
Right.
So, my work now brings these two pieces together, the leader and their strategy in a single coherent space as the most efficient way to attune a leader and their organizations simultaneously.
Definitely. I think moving from managing the present to, architecting the future, it requires a level of, internal intelligence that changes the entire vibration of a leadership team. That's
Mm.
amazing. I'm loving this conversation, Dr. Japji, and definitely I'd love for you to be back, hopefully for an in-person episode that we do next. But for now, before we let you go, if there's one final piece of advice, for all of our listeners, if you could whisper one thing into their ears, what would you say and why?
As you prepare for the future, and the future is tomorrow, take note of the places where you feel the need to sign off on things. Do you really need to? And how can you support your team so that you can step back, tune in, and actually guide the larger mission?
Beautiful. A powerful reminder that we are at our best when we, also dare to ask for help when we need it the most. Dr. Japji, this episode, as I said already, it was a very therapeutic episode, and I'm sure our listeners got so much, inspiration from you. Thank you so much for being a part of this and doing this for us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real delight.
All right, that was Dr. Japji Anna Bas from Flourish Energy, a masterclass in nervous system strategy, recalibrating through crisis, and why breaking your internal ceiling is the key to business growth in 2026. And lastly, to all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning into the She and Success podcast powered by She and Success Business Magazine. Be sure to subscribe for more expert insights and visit sheandsuccess.ca for more such resources, and also the She and Success Foundation at sheandsuccessfoundation.ca. And lastly, a very special thank you to our exclusive shipping partner, Puro Later, for their ongoing commitment to supporting women entrepreneurs and helping them build, grow, and lead successful businesses across Canada. I'll see you in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.